I did indicate that Australia, in her own infancy, took up responsibility over the territory of Papua New Guinea.
50 years of friendship. Australia's Yumi Stap Wantaim campaign celebrates Papua New Guinea's independence. Prime Minister Marape hails the strong, enduring partnership, saying, "Yumi Stap Wantaim, we are together." From administrator to ally, Australia has walked alongside PNG. Marape appreciates their vital support across many sectors. Looking ahead, both nations aim for greater partnership in trade, climate resilience, and more. Join the celebration, a year of events honoring the past and a shared future. Subscribe for updates. Yumi Stap Wantaim.
50 years ago, this month, this year, people like me was tucked away in one of the most remotest parts of our country. I was in Ningarum, Western Province, just a few kilometers from the West Papuan border. Knew no English. All I recall was they were dropping some leaflets, dropping off some plastic memorabilia saying that we're getting independence. And we were drawn into the euphoria and excitement of nationhood. For me, I was only 4 years old back then. And so I sort of grew up with the country, not knowing that 50 years on, I will be having this extraordinary privilege to be addressing the nation in events leading up to our 50th as our country's 8th Prime Minister. Why am I bringing this story up front in the introduction of my speech? It reflects the history of my generation and my children's peers who live in this country at present. We were stitched together from a nation of so much diversity by a force bigger than what we saw back then. It is a force of sovereignty. It is a force of unity amidst diversity. It was a force of Yumi Stap Wantaim, or in Motu as they say, Ita Noho Hebao. Come together, work Wantaim. And I want to say from up front to every sons and daughters of Australia amongst us, from the High Commissioner to those who work here, and those who live in Papua New Guinea, as well as those who have served before, to my friend John Fix, and all distinguished High Commissioners who have served here and staffs who have served here. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Badaheria. A big thank you to all Australians who have been with us, not just from 1975, but even preceding 1975. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Badaheria. As I said in Canberra in my address to the Parliament, and thank you to my friend, the Honourable Anthony Albanese, for giving me the rare honour of being the first Pacific leader to address the distinguished and the august hall of the Australian Parliament and the Australian people. I did indicate that Australia, in her own infancy, took up responsibility over the territory of Papua New Guinea. 1906, Australia was casted, the British Protectorate, to be under her care. 1945, Australia then took full responsibility of what became Papua New Guinea, the territory of Papua and the territory of New Guinea. Only 30 years later, we became independent. Last year, I had the honor and privilege of walking the Crocodile Track, at least the part from the Oro site up to Isorova, where the memorial station is. And in the evening, on the second night of me and Prime Minister Albanese's walk, I asked an elder in Isurova, why did you choose to be on the Australian side and not the Japanese side? I do acknowledge the Japanese ambassador here. Excuse my ignorance to this, but nothing personal, Mr. Ambassador, and welcome to country also. Japan has been a very good friend of Papua New Guinea since then. And the other half of my country sometimes wish that it was Japan and not Australia to give you some consolation. But in any case, the elder statesman educated me that night of history. I asked him and he said, Mr. Prime Minister, we were defending our territory. We were defending our territory. And it dawned on me that it was in the Australian sphere of not just administration, but government that the war was fought on. It was a first in as far as my education on history to realize fully that before 1975, we had one passport. We were in one sovereignty. We were under one national anthem. We were responding to one constitution. And so to every other bilateral partners I have in here and in Port Moresby and relate to Papua New Guinea, please excuse the fact that Australia and Papua New Guinea have a special place and relationship. History can never be relived. The fact that we were one before separation at September 16, 1975 connotes this deep sentimental affinity and attachment these two people, these two nations, these two countries have in the past, we have today, and we will have going forward into the future. That doesn't mean your place in our nation's history is not respected. We respect everyone. But the fact that Australia and PNG's history is carved from the same piece of cloth, so to speak, we have more in commonality than the few daily differences that come once in a while, including our separation in the NRL teams that we all choose every now and then. And so today I am privileged that amidst many programs that is happening, our Australian friends choose to host this night to launch our shared history and make it as part of the missions event going up to September 16. Thank you, Badaheria. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Longolka, Wantok Limi, Long Australia High Commissioner here, and send our round of applause and appreciation to Canberra for the fact that this mission is making its business to have the 50th anniversary programs as part of its work plans for this year. Thank you, Thomas. The last 6 years under my watch, following in the footsteps of the 7 prime ministers before me, we have worked to make sure that PNG and Australia relationship does not face the erosion of time. 2019, we signed the Comprehensive Strategic Economic Partnership document that elevated our relationship to one of equal in as far as our economic focus and partnership is concerned. That was the fundamental basis in which the next 5 years we made a gradual shift to what it is today. And I want to step back and say thank you very much to the former Prime Minister, my good friend Scott Morrison, under the Liberal government's watch. That Comprehensive Strategic Economic Partnership document was signed and has now become a blueprint in which we operate as equal economic and business partners as two nations living in not just PIF, but the ASEAN world and the APEC world, and of course the global community of commerce, trade and business going forward into the 21st century. Thank you, Liberal government. Thank you, Scott Morrison and your cabinet. It will be remiss of me not to acknowledge those who contribute to the construct of our contemporary PNG-Australia relationship. Place Papua New Guineans in the mix here. Join me in thanking the Liberal government. One thing has been certain amongst many certainties, that in as far as Papua New Guinea is concerned, it has always And I want to inform this House, this gathering this evening, that when the Australian election was going to be announced, I had the distinct pleasure to both dial in and speak and text to the opposition leader and also the Prime Minister. To the opposition leader, I offered my commiserations, and to the Prime Minister, I offered my congratulations. Both men were kind enough to pick my texts and my phone calls, and I thought the Honourable Peter Dutton from the Liberal side of the Parliament was so gracious in his speech in acknowledging the election victory that Labor had. And so to the Liberal side of Australia, Papua New Guinea is not partisan. We are bipartisan too in every sense. So thank you to the Liberal side of those who vote in Australia. To our friends in Labor, and it's undisputed fact of history that I stand under the shadow of the greatest Papua New Guinean ever lived, the Right Honourable Great Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Marape. I am the 10th leader of the party that he led, in which Pangu Party birthed this country into its sovereignty on the 16th of September 1975. The Great Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare had a very close rapport with Labour's Golf Whitlam. I may be wrong, but many Australians of my generation will say Golf Whitlam ranks amongst the most achieving Prime Minister in as far as Australian history is concerned. He had a great construct of both Australia and PNG in the 70s until he was dismissed from office. Great Golf Whitlam and Somare had a great walk hand in hand. Coincidentally, 50 years on, it is Labor and Pangu in 2025. Coincidentally, stars are all aligned. The calendar and the sequence of days and sequence of months falls into place neatly as a sequence of days as it was in 1975. 2019, when I resigned from the PNC-led government, I made a conscious choice. There were other parties offering me leadership. With my 28 members of parliament who was with me at that time, I picked Pangu Party with full knowledge that we stood every chance to be at the podium in 2025 and our 50th anniversary. I picked Pangu Party in 2019 to be the party of my choice because of the shared history and PNG's history in as far as the party is concerned in the way it bettered this country. Today, in 2025, the highest honor remains on my party, and the highest honor now remains in Labor for us to entrench deeper our two nations' shared past, but more importantly, as it was by leaders of past, plant the trees who said our children will live in and live under as we grow into the future. As certain as it was in the past, it is uncertain into the future. I want to repeat, as certain as it was in the past, the paradox of it is it is uncertain into the future. But the certainty of the past must propel us today to construct the journey into the future where everyone is prospering and moving forward into that future. Today, in 2025, PNG shares the leadership podium with Australia in PIF, with Australia in ASEAN. Very soon, PNG will become fully fledged member of ASEAN, and we may be the only country in the Pacific who are both PIF and ASEAN. And of course, both Papua New Guinea and Australia have deep presence in APEC. We share common place in many global forums. We share many common aspirations in all forums we belong to, as well as coming back home. It is in our shared interest to maintain democracy, preserve a free market economy, and a clean, green, blue Pacific continent, the home of both PNG and Australia and the Pacific. And I want to ask in conclusion to all of us here, especially Australians and Papua New Guineans, let us not take each other for granted. Let us not take our past for granted, but today we must make deliberate interventions, looking at our shared past 50 years and our shared past over 100 years of coexistence under Australia-PNG togetherness, but more importantly, going back into time immemorial, our kinship in this part of planet Earth. Papua New Guineans and Australians have lived and traversed in these seas and this land, a land called Sahul, for over 10,000 years. 10,000 years. And so I just want to encourage us today, my generation of Papua New Guineans, don't take Australia for granted. And Australians don't take Papua New Guinea for granted, but together, let's clearly and meaningfully advance BCA, advance our defense treaty, advance our free trade, and assist each other, get more Papua New Guineans who work in Australia, Australians who work in PNG, and together we can have confidence living side by side to face, in my view, an exciting Asian world that is coming in front of us. The world in the next 100 years will be China, will be India, will be Indonesia, will be Philippines, will be South Korea, will be Japan, will be Malaysia, will be Singapore, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. This is our space. And so let us gravitate towards each other, consolidate on our own relationship in PIF and the Pacific and Australia, celebrate the robustness of our democracy 50 years on, but more importantly, secure the future of our children in our shared work going forward into the future. May God bless Australia and may God bless PNG. May God bless our shared relationship as we together work with other family of nations that are in our neighborhood and that are relating to us now as they will be into the future. Let us preserve our democracy. Let us preserve our free market economy, good characteristics to place in the world that is right in front of us. Thank you, Thomas. May God bless everyone.